Alara Vance's knuckles were white where she gripped the plasma cutter, its hum a familiar song in the oppressive silence. The air in the observation deck tasted of ozone and decay, a cocktail she'd grown intimately familiar with since the Odyssey had limped into this dying star system. Before her, the colossal alien megastructure pulsed with a faint, sickly light, its surface a tapestry of cracked crystalline plating and exposed conduits that snaked into the void. It was a tomb, a mausoleum for a civilization long gone, and it was their only shield. The treaty was hours from expiration, a fragile truce that had kept the chorus at bay for 2 decades. But the chorus didn't understand treaties, only consumption. A low, resonant thrum vibrated through the deck plates, a sound that set Alara's teeth on edge. It was them. They were here. The hum grew, coalescing into a chorus of whispers that slithered into her mind, not through her ears, but directly into her soul. They were a gestalt consciousness, a parasitic species that bonded with hosts, sharing thoughts, memories, and worst of all, fear. Alara had seen what happened to those who were taken. Their bodies became puppets, their minds dissolved into the collective scream. She raised her cutter, the blade flaring to life, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. "All right, you bastards," she muttered, her voice steady. "Let's see what you think of a little human discord." The whispers intensified, a psychic pressure that felt like her skull was being slowly crushed. This was the end of the line. The chorus manifested not as a single entity, but as a tide of writhing, bioluminescent tendrils, each one tipped with a razor-sharp barb that dripped with a corrosive enzyme. They flowed from the ruptures in the megastructure's hull, a silent, glittering flood that sought purchase on any surface, any living thing. Alara opened fire, the plasma searing through the front ranks, vaporizing them into acrid smoke. But for every one she destroyed, 2 more took its place. The whispers became a cacophony, a psychic assault designed to break her will. They showed her images of her family, her friends, twisting them into monstrous parodies, their faces contorted in silent screams. They promised her an end to the pain, an end to the loneliness, a joining with a consciousness that was infinitely vast. Alara gritted her teeth, focusing on the burn of her weapon, the smell of ozone, the feel of the cold metal in her hands. She was an engineer, a problem solver. This was just another problem, albeit a very, very large one. A tendril lashed out, quicker than thought, and wrapped around her ankle. The pain was excruciating, a cold fire that spread up her leg. The whispers in her mind sharpened, promising her peace if she just let go. With a roar of pure, unadulterated fury, she brought the plasma cutter down, severing her own leg below the knee. The world went white for a moment, then snapped back into focus as she collapsed, the stump smoking. The chorus recoiled, momentarily stunned by the sheer, visceral horror of her self-mutilation. It was a move they couldn't comprehend, an act of defiance that violated their entire understanding of self-preservation. Alara dragged herself back, her face a mask of blood and sweat, and fired again into the stunned mass. "You want my mind?" she snarled, her voice raw. "Come and get it." Alara's vision swam as she clutched the stump of her leg, the plasma cutter now a dead weight in her other hand. The chorus, momentarily stunned, was regrouping, their whispers coalescing into a single, deafening psychic shriek that threatened to shred her sanity. She was losing. They were going to take her, and with her, the last remaining human on this forsaken rock. Her gaze fell upon the main control console, its surface cracked and dark, but one stubborn filament still glowed with a faint, steady pulse. It was the core of the megastructure's long-range communication array, a system she'd jury-rigged months ago to send a single, desperate message. A message that had never been answered. It was a dead end. But as the chorus tendrils began to creep closer, a desperate, insane idea began to form in her mind. It wasn't a weapon of war, not in the traditional sense. It was a weapon of art. She remembered the old Earth archives she'd been studying, the history of human expression. Music, poetry, painting. All of it was just a complex arrangement of vibrations, patterns, and emotions. The chorus communicated through a form of psychic resonance, a shared consciousness. What if she could weaponize that? What if she could give them something they couldn't process? With a grunt of effort, She hauled herself to her remaining foot and limped toward the console, her blood leaving a sticky trail on the floor. She ignored the tendrils that brushed against her back, ignoring the psychic screams, and slammed her good hand onto the console. The screen flickered to life, displaying a complex web of alien symbols. This was going to be a problem. Alera's fingers flew across the console, a blur of desperate motion. The chorus was upon her now, tendrils wrapping around her arms, her torso, constricting her breath. The psychic assault was a physical blow, and she could feel her own thoughts beginning to fray, to merge with the alien chorus. She was losing herself, but her fingers kept moving, driven by a lifetime of instinct and a burning hatred that burned brighter than the dying star outside. She bypassed the communication protocols, bypassed the power relays. She was tapping directly into the structure's resonant field, the very medium the chorus used to communicate. She wasn't sending a message. She was going to broadcast a weapon of pure, unadulterated human experience. She found a raw, unmodulated frequency and began to feed it data. Not words, not commands. She fed it the complete works of Beethoven, the chaotic beauty of a Jackson Pollock painting, the guttural poetry of Allen Ginsberg, the soulful ache of a Billie Holiday ballad, the frantic energy of a punk rock anthem. It was a symphony of human madness, beauty, and pain, a cacophony of individuality designed to shatter the collective mind of the chorus. As the first notes of the Fifth Symphony erupted from the console's speakers, not as sound, but as a raw, vibrating wave of psychic energy, the chorus screamed. Not a physical scream, but a psychic one that shattered the observation deck's viewport. The tendrils holding Alera convulsed, then went limp. The chorus recoiled, their shared consciousness unable to process the paradoxical beauty and horror of the data. They were being bombarded with a million unique souls, a billion conflicting emotions, all at once. It was too much. The psychic pressure vanished. Alera slumped to the floor, the console in front of her glowing with a soft, warm light. The chorus was silent. The treaty was broken, but the line had held. She looked at her severed leg, then at the console, a small, bitter smile touching her lips. She had used their own weapon against them, and all it cost her was a leg and a symphony.